Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Kyle from Kyle's How To, and today I'm going to show you how you can build your own police lights on the Arduino. It's a cool little project for beginners, so let's get right to it. Okay, this is the overview of what to expect when you're done with this project, and all you have to do is push the button and it activates the lights, and they'll go for as long as you want it to. And then when you're ready to turn them off, you can hit the button again and it turns them off. If you want to turn them back on, hit it again, turn it off, on, off. So it's a toggle state basically. And so we'll go ahead and jump into the code. We'll start out simple and get more complex and start adding things. Okay, so before we get into the code, I'm going to show you how I have this set up. And on the very far right, this blue LED here, this is pin 2. It's hooked to pin 2. The red one next to it, pin 3. This red one on the left, pin 4, and then the far left blue one, pin 5, and then the button is hooked to pin 6, and the other side of the button is hooked to ground, and then on the ground side of the LEDs, on each one of them, we have a 10K resistor going to ground, and then we have the power, the 5 volts going to the power rail, and then the ground from the Arduino going to the ground power rail, and then we have both of these jumpers so that we have power on both sides and ground. And so we'll go ahead and get into the code. Okay, so we're going to go through 3 different versions of this code. This is the simplest one. We'll go to the more complex ones. And basically what this one does is when you upload this code to the Arduino, all it will do is flicker the lights and it won't turn on or off or anything. And so the next one, what we'll do is add a button. And then on the last version, the most complex version of this tutorial, we will make the button state where you can toggle it on and off. And that'll conclude the tutorial. But anyways, we have our pins defined right here. 2, 3, 4, and 5 have 4 LEDs. And we have right side LEDs and left side LEDs. And to adjust the speed, we've created these variables. And this is 50 milliseconds on both of them. So this is the delay in between each on and off cycling of the LED. Then we have left max and right max. And basically this is the variable that controls how many iterations the for loops do. So the first one does 2 iterations and the last one does 2. And then of course, because it's in a loop, it goes over and over again and it never stops. We have setup, LED 1, 2, 3, and 4. All set as an output, and then we have digital write, LED 1 through 4 to low so that it is off when it first boots up. It's just good practice. And then we have 2 main for loops. There's the first one, there's the second one. This controls the left side LEDs, and this controls the right side LEDs. And so basically all it does is 4, and then we define an integer of x. By the way, you can define this either in the loop or you can define it above the setup. And we initially set the x to 0. And then if x is less than the left max variable, which we set up above the setup, then x++, so it iterates up once each time. And so if the x becomes greater than the left max, then it resets it back to 0 and it starts over again. And then we have the next for loop, which is the same exact thing. It just controls the right side. And so we'll go ahead and upload this to the board and see what happens. Okay, as you can see, it's working quite well. It's just right now we don't have any control over it. It's just when you plug it in, it's on. And to turn it off, you have to unplug it. So we'll go ahead and get into the next part of this tutorial, and we will add the button to where when we turn it on, we can hit the button, and the lights will turn on, and they'll stay on until you unplug it. Okay, so this is the second part of the 3 parts that I was talking about. On this part of the video, we're going to just talk about using a button to turn the LEDs on and have them blink like they did in the last video. So, as you can see, all these are still the same. And we've added a button on pin 6. And then we've also added X, which is equal to 50, and that stands for 50 milliseconds. And as you can see, we have delay right, delay left, and it's equal to X. So both of these are equal to the same thing because, we want the blink rate to be the same on both sides for this project. So I just decided to add this. That way, if I wanted to change it, it'd be easy. I just have to change one variable instead of two. And then we have, again, right and left max, the iterations. We already went over that. And by the way, I added some comments. Usually when you are doing like really simple programs, it's fine to just skip out on the comments. But once you start adding a little bit of complexity to it, it's always a good idea to, put some comments to describe, what this particular part of code is doing. And anyways, two other new variables, button count, we've put it equal to 0. So when the Arduino boots up, it'll be equal to 0. And we're going to use the button to change that to 1, and that 1 is going to activate the while loop, which will get it blinking. And then we have button delay, and instead of putting it down below like on the last one, I decided to make a button delay up here at the top, and it's equal to 200 milliseconds, and I found 200 to work best for this tutorial. You can play with a little bit yourself. And this is everything we have above the setup, and then we're going to go into the setup. Once again, we defined all the LEDs as outputs, and we defined the button as an input pull-up, and that is important. Make sure you put input pull-up. And then, as it was in the last one, we set all the LEDs to low when it first boots up. Now we're into the loop, and we've added an initial if statement, and basically what this does is if the button's pressed, it changes button count to 1 and then delays. The reason for this delay, if you don't put this delay, your button, you might push it once and it might push twice because there wasn't any delay in there. So it's real important to put that delay there. And if you're pushing that button and it's not behaving right, you might play with that button delay, which is up at the top that I showed you. And this is the while loop. This is the only one we have in here. And this is the ending. And then once again, our two for loops. And so I just want to correct myself a little bit on the last one. I said it goes through this and sets it back to 0. It does, but it's going to go through this first, however many iterations you put on this left max. So if you put 2, it'll go through this twice, and then it'll go through this twice, and then because it's in a loop, it'll go back to the top, and it'll go here, here, so it's over and over again. Okay, so same thing, and I'm going to go ahead and upload this to the board, and we'll see what happens. Okay, as you can see, it's off right now. There's nothing happening. Once we push the button, the light should start to begin to blink. All right, looks good. I'm going to come back into the code here, and I was going to mess with a few things just to kind of show you, give you an example of, how all these variables work. So we have X. This is the delay in between each blink. So I'm going to put that to 500. I'm going to upload the code, and we'll see what difference it makes. Okay, see, does twice on each one. And so that's the speed. Now I could increase the iterations from 2 to 5 on each one. Upload that to the board. We'll see what happens. It'll go 5 times here, 5 times there. Let's see what happens. 3, 4, 5. Oh no, it does 10 because each one's twice. Okay, and that concludes this, and we'll go into the toggle state one on the next one. Okay, this is the third and final part to this, and in this one we're going to finally do the toggle state. And as you can see, everything up here is still the same. We still have our button defined, and we still have X, which controls both of these delays. And then we have Y, this is a new one we added. It is the same thing, it controls both of these iterations on the right and left. And then we have the button count. We changed it from 0 to 1 because, 1, I just put it because 1's the first state and 2's the second state, just to be a little less confusing. Then we have the button delay. Once again, we already went over that. Set all LEDs as outputs, and then button input pull up, and then all the LEDs low. And then we have our first while loop, And this while loop, it's right here. And this while loop, basically, this is the default state. So when the Arduino powers up, it'll be in the off position. And if the button's pressed right here, this if statement, it'll change the button count to 2. As you can see, just to be clear, it says while button count equals 1. And as you can see up here, we set it to 1 right here. Okay, so if we go back down here, this condition will be true, so it'll stay stuck in this while loop until something changes, and the button will change that. If you push the button, it changes it to button count equals 2 and does the delay, and then it pops down to here, the second while loop, and it goes all the way down here. As you can see right here, this is the ending of the while loop. That down there is the ending of the loop. So this is the first for statement, or the first for loop, and then we have the second for loop, just like the last one. The only difference is I inserted this if statement, and I inserted it into both for loops, because I found out if I didn't do that, sometimes if you press the button, it would miss it. So I put it in both for loops because for a certain amount of time it's stuck in this for loop, and then a certain amount of time it's stuck in that for loop. So if you put it outside of the for loops, the button won't work very well. And so that's the if statement that'll get it out of this whole while loop, and it'll go back to the off position. So it's here and down there. That's the only difference. We still have the LEDs writing high, delay, low, and then the second one turn on, delay, low, so on and so forth. So I think that should make sense, I hope. If not, you can shoot me a message, and we'll go ahead and upload this to the board, and we'll see what happens. Okay. As you can see, it was on the off state, and now I turned it on. And so if we press the button again, it'll shut it off. Press it again, turn it on. Press it again, shuts off. There is a little bit of a glitch. It's not a big deal, but sometimes some of the lights will blink just a little bit after you hit that, and I don't know. I figured it was just fine. I didn't really feel like messing with it too much, but the fact is it works. So, and that will conclude this tutorial. If you like this, please subscribe and turn on notifications. If you have any questions, send me a message, and I will try to reply as quickly as possible. And as always, thanks for watching.